And so I looked at Sam and said, number 5. We're good. Push you ready. Good. Good. Good.
Yeah, we'll start when the TV. We're televised, folks. Everything is televised here live, so we're on at 5:30. They'll hook us right in with the network. There you go.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the City of Millville work session for October 15th, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. I call this meeting in order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Santiago.
Here.
Commissioner Pepitone.
Here.
Vice Mayor Parent.
Here.
Commissioner Udalvis. Here. Commissioner Cooper.
Here. Can we all stand, please, and salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975 and is advertised, posted, and made available to the public as required by statute. The municipal clerk is directed to include a statement in the minutes of this meeting. Madam Clerk, are there any review changes to this agenda?
No, Mayor.
We'll start with presentations first. Our first presentation is from Paul Dice, Executive Director of Millville Housing Authority Update. Mr. Dice, sorry, Jeannie. I'm just on a roll. Mr. Dice, it's all yours. Are you going to be using this?
No, I'm not.
Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure. I haven't been here for a while, so it's good to be back. Thank you for asking me to be here. I thought I'd start with just an overall view of where we are right now. The portfolio of the Millville Housing Authority right now stands at 494 units. In 5 of those units, J.C. Plaza, Riverview East, Riverview West, Cedarview Court, and Ferguson Court. I can provide notes, by the way, for anybody who wants them.
Yes, we would like those.
Okay, I'd be happy to do so. What you're going to find are populations of near elderly disabled as well as elderly. There's also an assisted living program that we run in J.C. Plaza, Riverview West, and as of September of this year, Riverview East. There are 64 patients that we have that are also tenants of ours. These are people that are Medicaid eligible, and but for the assisted living program would be in a nursing home. So it's a very important program that we've had for many, many years. You also have 2 family units. One is at Hollyberry Court, and we also have scattered sites, which are individual homes, single-family residences. There are not very many of those. There's only about 11 single-family homes that we have, and 49 units in Hollyberry Court. Morrisview Plaza, we have an area for young disabled people who are ages 18 to 50. And so what happens is you've got people in Morrisview Plaza from 18 to 50 who would then age out and be able to go into the high-rises or to Cedarview Court or Ferguson Court. And then you catch them between what we call near elderly disabled, which is going to be 50 to 62. And then you've got elderly beyond that. So this has been a continuum of care, as we like to refer to it as, that we've had for many, many years. You also have a Section 8 program here. There was a time when there were vouchers that we had at Oakview, what we called project-based vouchers, which are different than the vouchers that most people are familiar with, where you can take them anywhere. They're portable, as they say. Well, we stopped making them as of September 1st, 2017, we ceased offering project-based vouchers, which are just for Oakview, and made them tenant-based. So there are now 177 tenant-based vouchers, which can go anywhere. So if somebody wants to move from here to California, to Texas, Maine, Florida, wherever, they can do that. And it gives people the opportunity to move and follow the work. Now, one of the things that I find that is sometimes problematic is that people assume that if there's a Section 8 situation in Millville, that it must be the Millville Housing Authority. Millville has its own Section 8 program, true, but other housing authorities have vouchers in the city as well. So the fact that there might be a residence here that is Section 8, it might be the state, who has by far the biggest Section 8 program. The Department of Community Affairs has, I think, 21,000 vouchers in the state. We have 177. So then Bridgeton has some, Vineland. You may find that a number of municipalities and counties, Gloucester County. So there are sometimes you will find that it's not just us, but you will have other Section 8 properties in town. The other, so we've got the 494 units of housing, and then the 177 units of Section 8. Beyond that, we also run the Holly City Family Center, what many of you may remember as the former YMCA, which is still, this is an area that we have for, it's open to the public. We compete with the private sector. It's a not-for-profit that's owned by the Millville Housing Authority, so it's a separate entity altogether. But we have the high school team comes to practice there for the swimming. The regional swim team comes there. We have campgrounds, summer camps and winter camps for children. We have aerobics facilities. So it's an area that is been very active for us, although it's always difficult to compete with the private sector. But we've been able to do so, especially with the pool. And we've been able to make a go of it and keep it going. And one of the things I want you to know, wanted to impart about that is that we're trying to expand the community awareness of the Holly City Family Center, not just as a private membership entity, and that's how it's funded, through memberships. But we're trying to expand it right now into more of a community center. So it's where we can offer life skills programs, cooking programs, because we do have that type of facility, after school programs. We're trying to get more of an awareness in the community for that. So I wanted to leave you with that thought about the Holly City Family Center. From a financial standpoint, I thought you'd want to know where we are with that. We're still closing out September, but as of August, we had $41,916 in positive net income for the month, and $292,000 year to date. Our fiscal year runs 10/1 to 9/30. That does not mean we're looking at $292,000 of cash. The way we handle our accounting, that's money that we're able to bring in and then have range of motion to put out, and mostly in terms of the building upgrades. So that's not sitting in cash. But overall, the Millville Housing Authority is financially sound. And if you were to take a look at the budget for 10/1/19 to 9/30/20, we're looking at roughly $4.6 million in change in revenue. We're looking at roughly 4.4 and change in projected expenses. And we're looking at to close the year with roughly $152,000 in positive net income. And we've been able to hit those marks. Those are not new benchmarks for us. One of the things, if you were to take a look at the revenue stream of the Millville Housing Authority that's very different than most housing authorities, is that almost 8%, 363,000 of that, comes from revenue streams that are non-traditional revenue streams. I also serve as the executive director through shared service agreements of the Wildwood Housing Authority and the Salem Housing Authority. Effectively, the board of the Millville Housing Authority rents me out and a central team to run these other two housing authorities. They save money. Millville brings that money in terms of revenue. So it's a shared service agreement that Millville, for example, with the Wildwood Housing Authority, Millville, we've had a shared service agreement with them since December of 2011. With Salem, we've had the shared service agreement since December of 2012. So between that, the assisted living program, the commercial rent that we bring in, and tenant rental, that's $363,000 that we're able to bring in additional revenue streams that we would not have had otherwise, or almost 8% of our revenue. So that's a long-standing situation. Now, in terms of what we've done to also maintain our operations and run as lean as possible, we have outsourced, starting back in December 2011, I outsourced the assisted living program. We used to run that program directly. I found that it would be better for us to sell it and have the partner in to be a business partner with the company that we brought in. So they pay us commercial rent, they pay us per month per head, and they generate revenue. And frankly, their business model is stronger than ours was. And that's been a very successful outsourcing and a long-standing partnership that we've had with them. The information technology, we've recently outsourced all of our personnel there. I had a chief financial officer for many years. We've outsourced that function altogether. And between that and a reduction in overall full-time equivalent positions over the years, we are less than 50% now. Our full-time equivalent roster is less than 50% now than it was back in May of 2008. And we've just continued to fine-tune that. Why that's important is that it keeps the Millville Housing Authority positioned for anything that may come up. We're positioned to be able to handle adversity, and so I'm very, very pleased with that. The lion's share, because I don't take it lightly when we talk about reductions in force, the lion's share of those people, that reduction came from an outsourcing with the assisted living program where they were hired by the hiring company. So it's not that we haven't had any that were reduced and not hired somewhere else, but the lion's share of what we've done has been done in a way that did not overly impact the community. So we've done it as best we can. So that's sort of an overview of the finances and how we differentiate ourselves and how we've managed to navigate during times of economic downturns. And everybody talks about lack of funding. Well, we've been able to handle that by going out and creating our own revenue streams. So I'm very proud of the team for what they've accomplished with all of that. The other thing I thought you'd be interested in knowing is what we're doing with the buildings. That probably is one of the questions that I hear the most. And by far, if you were to ask me what I believe the biggest challenge for the Millville Housing Authority, is preservation of its existing property. Not building new property, but preservation of what we have. There's a physical needs assessment with which we update this all the time, but the current physical needs assessment which we just finished a few months ago, when we quantified that, the all-in number, that includes the financing, the construction, everything, to substantially renovate all of the housing authority property minus the scattered sites, just the buildings, the high-rise buildings, we were looking at $69 million. In terms of what we were able to generate in terms of financing, my finance, the outsourced finance unit tells me that they feel that we could generate $50 million. So $69 million is the number that we were trying to hit. We're able to generate up to $50 million. So we're $19 million short. We knew we were going to be short. We just weren't sure how much. Well, the number as it stands today is 19 million. And that could increase. And if I could leave one message with you in terms of finance, if we had access to 9% low-income housing tax credits, all right, which is not neighborhood revitalization, not new markets tax credits, these are low-income housing tax credits. There are two primary types. One is 4%, one is 9%. By far, 9% are the most valuable because it gives you the largest percentage of your total development cost. On average, a 9% low-income housing tax credit project could yield up to 70% of the total development cost. That's equity in. That's not debt. That's equity in. You don't have to pay it back. The problem is they're limited. Across the country, they're limited. And we do not have access to them for preservation. Okay? The state these are federal tax credits that come in, and the state allocates them. And the way the state allocates those is they set up what's called a qualified allocation plan. And that plan, up to date, has always erred on the side of creation of affordable housing, which is an admirable goal. My argument is, and always has been, they're not taking enough of a look at preservation. Certainly not preservation in South Jersey. In my mind, below 195, Route 195 does not get the same attention with 9% low-income housing tax credits as the northern areas do. So, right now, we're going to continue to monitor where we are. If we see a break in the funding, we're going to take our shot at trying to fill it and move those preservation projects forward. But right now, where we are, we're not going to be able to do that. So that's where we are right now. So it's $19 million short. I think that there are ways to handle it in the future, but right now we're a bit stymied. There is a program that if you're following the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development trends, they call it the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program. It is by far one of the hottest topics today. To make a long story short, they incentivize public housing authorities to preserve their housing stock by creating financial situations where we can go out into the private sector and leverage money. And I've been watching. Effectively what they do is they give you a contract. They'll give us a contract today for 20 years. And that contract I can then take and leverage that in the private sector. The contract value that they've been offering since 2012 when this program started has gone up and up and up. So I've watched it get more valuable and more valuable. But we're just not there. They're not offering enough right now that I can take that contract and leverage it in the private sector and get us where we need to be. And it's not just me who looks at these numbers. I bring in a team to analyze this, and whether it's from a development standpoint, from an architectural standpoint, from a financial standpoint, I'm welcome. I'm happy to show you any of the supporting documentation. These aren't just thoughts that float around in my head. I've got supporting documentation for this, and I'm happy to share it with whomever would like to read them. So if you ever want to know if you ever wanted to see a report on a financial person, on our outsourced CFO's thoughts on whether or not we could get that $19 million, I've got that report. If you want a report that shows you all the physical needs, we have that by building, so we can get that to you. So that's where we are with the funding. That said, the fact that we have a hurdle and can't get to all of the projects that we would like does not mean that everything has stopped. We are continuing to modernize the buildings when we can. We are continuing to keep up with the maintenance. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it couldn't be better. But if you walked into JC Plaza today you would see that 2 months ago we just finished a full renovation of the elevators. Well, that's a $295,000 project. 2 years ago, we modernized Riverview East. The year before that, we did Riverview West. So what we also moved from an analog to a digital closed circuit television system for security purposes for Riverview East, Riverview West, and Hollyberry Court. We're now moving to do that to JC Plaza as well. So these are things that we've been doing to modernize as much as possible. We're going to continue to affect what changes we can that'll directly impact the quality of life for people. If you were to take a look, and I've got the budget if you want to see it, for a 5-year capital improvement budget, you would find that most of the budget for the upcoming 5 years focuses on the exterior of the buildings, on the roofs, on the masonry work, generators. Oh, by the way, we upgraded one of the fire panels recently too, but certainly the fire panels in some of the buildings. We're still not at the point where I can say that we're going to upgrade all the flooring and all the bathrooms and all the kitchens and all those things. So aesthetically, not quite there yet, but we are trying to get to the most important part, being, well, not the most important, but taking care of the exterior of the building, because if we don't take care of that, it won't matter what we do on the inside. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So roofs, masonry, generators, emergency generators, building entry doors. The other thing that I want to make sure that you're aware of, when we have a couple of our scattered sites, which are single-family homes, we do not have people in them right now, and I'm not looking to rent them again. But we are also not looking to add to the housing stock we're not trying to sell these to landlords who then will not take care of them. What we're trying to do right now is to work with companies like Habitat for Humanities and other companies that would keep them deed restricted, that would keep them in an area that would, in a situation where they're not going to become a blight, they're not going to become a problem for the city of Millville. So some of our scattered sites, we're going to try and work with agencies like that. The last part that I wanted to cover was some of the social programs. I must admit that over the years, because of the funding, being a social service agency, we have not been able to have as many programs as I would like. It's just a reality. If we have sometimes we have to focus on just the buildings themselves and not as much of the former social work type programs that housing authorities were known for. So, but recently we have been involved with Cumberland County Thrive, and through that program and that initiative, which the prosecutor's office, who I think has done a great job with with the programs that have come out of that. One of the programs has been what they call the Phoenix program, which is an anti-gang program. There was a 10-week pilot that we were able to run at Hollyberry Court for children ages, I think it was 6 to 15. We had a good turnout. The kids came, and we found that if we fed them, they would come. So we kept feeding them, and they kept coming. So we are now going to extend that pilot. That pilot program is going to run for another 25 weeks. There's another program that has recently come along with that, Life Skills, that just as the name implies, whether it's banking, whether it's whatever life event there is that would help bring mentors in for the young people to be able to take a look at, whether it's preparing a resume, thinking about how to find work, whatever it may be, dealing with social situations, dealing with family situations. So that program, it has not started yet, but we're hopeful that it is going to start in the next month or so. And my hope is that it's not just at Hollyberry Court, that we could get that into the Family Center, all right, which is down on Mulberry and Buck, and be able to open it up to a broader population of the city. So Center City, Third Ward. I'd like to get further out one of the things that I've said to Cumberland County Thrive is it's okay to start with a housing authority, but it needs to go beyond that, and it needs to go beyond that quickly. Now, we offer it to all the surrounding neighborhoods. So if we've got something going on in Hollyberry Court and we can bring in children from the surrounding area, they're more than welcome. We don't turn anybody away. But I would rather see them come down into Center City, come down into the Third Ward, and be able to offer that a little bit more. The other thing is we're working with ShopRite right now to try and get in-home shopping, especially for the seniors who are limited. And we still have a digital divide, and so we're working with the Bettino family to see if we can't possibly, put in a computer somewhere so that people can, in a central area, who don't have access otherwise. So we are trying to move along in that area, as well as expanding the Holly City Family Center. So,
Any questions? Thank you, Paul.
thank you. And I will make my notes available, and
Thank
please
you.
let me know if there's anything else.
How will we be able to get those notes?
Go through Jeannie?
I'll go through Jeannie, if that's
Sure.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Clerk?
Okay, our next presentation is by Marcella Shepard, CFO, for best practices state aid discussion.
Hi, everyone. Every year I come before you to discuss the best practice inventory. I just want to give you a little bit of background as to how we answered the questions this year, because we did it a little bit different. We had a department head meeting 2 weeks ago, and we went through all the questions together, all the department heads, versus in the past it was just myself and Regina that answered most of the questions. There's 84 questions. We answered 41.50 correctly, and you needed a score of 30 or more to get 100% of your state aid. So needless to say, we did well. I sent you an email with a copy of the questionnaire with all our answers. So I'm not sure if you want me to take the time and go through any of them, or just you review it on your own, and as you have questions, you would want to discuss it with me. So it's up to you.
Thank you, Marcy.
You're welcome.
We've now reached the public comment on agenda items only. Anyone that would like to make a comment on an agenda item, please step up to the mic, state your name and your concerns, and limit your comments to 5 minutes, please. I thought you were here now.
Morning, Mayor. Good afternoon, almost evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I noticed on the closed session there was a reference for 200 G Street. I assume that's for us to visit with you?
Name?
Oh, I'm sorry. Louis Magazoo. Thank you. You know, I need coaching once in a while. I'm slipping. I'm getting old. Louis Magazoo on behalf of Anthony DeSantis and Gary Peratt. Thank you, Mayor, for that.
You got
I
it, Lou.
apologize.
I know who you are.
I just wanted to be sure that, because we do have something that we want to share with the commission. That's all. Thank you.
Lou. You're welcome. Anyone else? I close the public comment on agenda items only. Old business, please, Madam Clerk.
There is no old business, Mayor.
Discussion of commissioners. Commissioner Cooper.
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Pepitone.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Commissioner Udalvis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Providing an update pertaining to the Neighborhood Preservation Program grant, also known as the NPP grant reinstated by the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs in 2019, the Department of Public Affairs, and specifically the Planning Department, announces an upcoming resolution at the November 6th meeting of the Board of Commissioners to formalize the grant implementation consultant as Holly City Development Corporation. As the Board of Commissioners and the public may recall from the April 2nd meeting, the Department presented an explanation of a resolution item approving a memorandum of understanding agreement between the City of Millville and the Holly City Development Corporation to perform grant writing services in connection with the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs 2019 Neighborhood Preservation Program grant application in an amount not to exceed $2,500. As announced during the July 2nd meeting of the Board, utilizing data from the Neighborhood Planning through the Wells Fargo Steering Committee and the Center City Neighborhood Revitalization Plan, Holly City Development Corporation and the City of Millville successfully demonstrated a commitment to public and private partnership in neighborhood revitalization efforts through the application process and were awarded a funding amount of $125,000 by the DCA for purpose of developing and implementing a 5-year strategic action plan focused on community revitalization in the Center City neighborhood through December 31st, 2020. The Planning Department and our city solicitor will present a resolution for the Wednesday, November 6th meeting of the Commission in order to facilitate the proximal stages of grant implementation alongside Holly City Development Corporation. Expectations for the grant include utilizing $100,000 of the awarded grant to create a visual impact and improvement during year 1 of the grant cycle within the boundary of the focus area, which encompasses the NRTC, or Neighborhood Revitalization Tax Credit Zone. And with the conclusion of this report, Mr. Mayor, progress.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor Parent?
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
We'll go right into new business, please.
There is no new business, Mayor.
We've now reached the public comment portion of our meeting. Anyone that would like to address this commission, please go to the podium, state your name and address your concerns, and please limit your comments to approximately 5 minutes.
Good afternoon. Kirk Hewitt, Millville. Just a few questions. I see we're going to be working on bonds again tonight. It's time for the library. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. I don't know. I'll have some questions on that later on. I guess we're going to be needing to bond for the rescue squad. I can tell you now, myself, I've been involved in this, Mayor knows, for a long time. Whatever you guys got to do, there shouldn't be any questions from the podium about bonding for that. We know we got to do that. But bonds, every time we turn around, bonds. Do we know how much the bond's going to be yet for the trash cans for the new trash collection? That's going to be bonded. You told us that last time. Question next door, across the street, Jim's. That fence, are we paying for that fence? Is that a bill we're paying each month? Maybe I can get an answer on that. That's protecting the ground that the beams are on. And those beams, I guess we paid for them because there was a contract for that. But is that the way that's going to stay? The main reason I ask, I mean, Champions Building come down and there's 2 surrounding walls there, and we don't have any kind of jungle gym or gymnasium bars there holding that building up. Solar plant. We had a little bit of damage on a few panels when that little real quick tornado, they called it, came off the river, remember, about 3 or 4 months ago. Has that been fixed? Maybe I can get an answer on that. Reason I'm asking is I know we're talking about solar later on tonight as a resolution, and I'll save my time for when that comes up. But I see on last month's billing, bills that were paid on September 17th, there's 2 solar, there's a solar company that I know for sure, Go Solar Electric, that was paid $9,775, signed on the bill list of the last meeting, September 17th. And then there's a GSRP Project Holdings, capital I, LLC. All the research that I can do leads me to a solar company, solar holding company in Maryland. It's not a registered company in New Jersey, but it is working in conjunction with Marina Electrical Holdings, which is a solar company, municipal solar company that is registered in New Jersey. They got paid $11,204.62. The only fields I know of is 15th Street, if I'm correct, and we had the damage at the sewer plant. Question being, I'm hoping that this resolution that you're thinking about tonight, because it's very vague, who's maintaining these panels? Who takes care of, like, the damage on the ones at the sewer? Did maybe one of these bills, $9,700 or $11,000 pay for the repairs at the sewer plant? Because if so, that might need to be looked into as however that contract was written years ago on who maintains them and what. And unfortunately, I guess it's a fortunate thing, Aldi's opening up Thursday because we lost Save-A-Lot. It was very disturbing, Mr. Parent, with your comments last week, 2 weeks ago, when one of the business owners on High Street came up here about how safe High Street is. In the Daily Journal, Save-A-Lot Corporation and manager referred to the fact of 3 reasons why they were closing: cost, safety, and crime. Last I remembered, High Street, I know it basically ends as far as Broad Street, because anything after that really isn't considered High Street as far as, you know, what we care about, it seems. But now your people that don't have ways to get around besides taxi cabs and stuff, I guess they're going to be like Atlantic City wound up being. No Center City grocery store. Save-A-Lot's gone. It's not far to get out to ShopRite or to Aldi or even Main Street Market. But it's gone, and that's the 3 reasons they gave: safety, theft, area. That's all. Maybe, hopefully, I can get a couple of the answers to the sewer plant and stuff like that. Thank you.
You're welcome, Kurt. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is John Dalrymple. I have a few questions for the commission.
John, say your last name again, please.
Dalrymple,
Can you spell it?
D-A-L-R-Y-M-P-L-E.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you speak into the mic?
Sorry.
Thank you.
I understand we have a closed session tonight that I guess the public cannot be part of. Regarding the Millville works that is being proposed to the city, I have a couple questions. What business plan, what year was presented to the board is my first question. Number 2, who are the individuals involved in the operation, if that's changed since the 2017 business proposal? And when will the city vote on this?
Brock?
Which project are you speaking of? Which developer?
Which developers do we have? Various names, I guess, would be for Anthony DeSantis and Gary Peratt.
Well,
and or affiliates, or if there's 1 or 2 different presentations, I'm not, clear.
I think there's a closed session item tonight that concerns the property. And
Correct.
I don't know if it includes Mr. DeSantis or someone else or not at this point. I just know it's on the agenda as a closed session item. And then also tonight there's a presentation I believe Mr. DeSantis is making at our 7 o'clock meeting.
Okay, so on that presentation, when does the commission vote on that?
I don't know that there is a contract or resolution that's on the agenda. To my knowledge, there's not.
So it's just a presentation?
Correct.
Presentation.
Okay. All right. I'll wait till after the presentation to go further if we're not voting, in the next hour, per se. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, when do I get the answers to my questions?
At the end. Hang out, you'll get it.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else, I close the public portion of this meeting. Any comments of commissioners? None? We're going to have a resolution, Madam.
Mr. Mayor, I did have a question just in regard to a couple of the comments. I know that Mr. Hewitt had mentioned about the bonding for the trash cans, and speaking with our city administrator, we had some information that had also been discussed with the CFO from a meeting that was taking place on Friday, and I'll allow her to impart that now if she would.
We did have a meeting on Friday with Cascade. They are a company that provides the containers. They are a 96-gallon container, and the city will have an option to either bond or They have a lease-to-buy program that can either be 5, 7, or 10 years. The approximate cost of the containers will be about $980,000. Each home will get two. They'll get one for trash, one for recycling. The container will go with the property. If a family moves out of their residence, the container stays. It's his property, the city of Millville, and they own the cans. Marcy is looking into the better way for the city, whether to bond or to lease, and those numbers are still being run. I don't think the decision's been made yet. Yeah, the CCIA was also willing to enter into an agreement with us to pay for it. So I think the most the city is trying to make sure is that we're not paying bonding costs just for trash cans. I mean, if we were doing additional bonding and we wouldn't have to pay additional costs, we may bond it if the numbers, once Marcy reviews the numbers and discusses them with the commission and gives her your advice, it's the way to do it. So we're looking at all three ways, but it's approximately 900, I think 980,000 was the exact number in that range.
And you had also mentioned that there's a stipulation for those homes that may be owned by elderly persons that might at that point decide to opt for a smaller can, so that there is actually a trade program that's available, so they have different customization that they provide through that.
That will be later down. Initially,
Right.
when the program begins, they'll be all 96-gallon cans. There will be, later in the program, there will be a chance to apply and request a smaller container if you're an individual homeowner and you don't want, but the initial purchase will be 96-gallon cans.
And naturally, this would also accompany a very extensive education program, considering that it is a pilot program that we're doing and that it's going to be new to all of our residents here. So that there'll be
Part of purchasing the cans, and there's a grant program. The grant program, I know it was $1 for education. There was it 14? $15 per can, but $1 will go towards education, and we will have to provide education to the homeowners. And there is a program with the trash cans where they will put them when they deliver the trash can to the homeowner on the curb. There'll be a bag with all the information in it explaining in detail this recycling program. And there's grant money. Now, the grant money won't be available when we purchase the cans. The grant money becomes available during the year as we reach the benchmarks. We deliver the cans, we have people recycling, and then you will get back about $15 per can.
And Mr. Mayor, just one quick point of clarification in regard to one of the questions regarding the closed session item. I know that our supervising planner, Samantha Silvers, had actually promoted this item and advanced this item to the agenda via the city clerk's office. And to my knowledge, that item did not include a meeting with Mr. DeSantis Millville Plastics initially. That was a meeting for the commission to, in closed session, deliberate.
Correct. Anything else, commissioners? No? Okay. Madam Clerk?
Resolution.
Okay, we have a resolution authorizing a closed session for the following matter, 200 G Street, under contract negotiations.
Mr. Mayor, move the adoption of this resolution.
Second the motion.
Any comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Pepitone?
Question before. Ashley pointed out that this meeting in closed session is for another presentation. There is the opportunity for Mr. DeSantis to present back there as well, correct?
That would be an item, I believe, for our city solicitor to answer that
Correct.
question.
Well, the item that's on the agenda is contract negotiations, 200 G Street. That's why I was uncertain as to what it referred to, but I think it refers to a presentation that was going to be made by someone else other than Mr. DeSantis.
It does. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
The
So
initial
that
motion
was
to
my
add
mistake.
did originate from our department, and
agree.
Samantha Silvers
Mr. Magazoo,
did place
I
that
have to
forward.
stop you, sir. We've closed on comments, Mr. Magazoo. Just stand by. Let us explain first, and then I'll think about the opportunity. Thank you, sir.
So simply as a point of clarification, just to know that the original
Okay.
originated with that. I don't know if there could be an amendment made to that at this point, but that would be beyond me. That would be our city solicitor.
And again, I don't know if an amendment is needed since we're opening, able to talk about this property.
They should do it now before we go into the meeting.
Yeah, if you want to amend it, you better do it now.
Yeah,
not-
it has to be part of the resolution.
I would like an amendment to have the opportunity for Mr. DeSantis to present to the commission in closed session.
I need a second.
Second the motion.
Any comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Pepitone?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parent?
No.
Commissioner Udalvis?
No.
Commissioner Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Santiago?
No.
Okay, so the item is not amended.
You're not presenting, sir. Thank
Okay.
you. Yes. Yes, sir.
We need to vote on the.
Yeah, we need to
So,
move to go into closed session.
so now we need to pass the resolution authorizing a closed session for the following matter, 200 G Street, under contract negotiations, as it stands.
I will make a motion to adopt this resolution.
Second motion.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pepitone?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Udalabis?
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Santiago?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Folks, stand by. We'll be back. Well,
System work thing, we got something to go with wireless.
you got it. close our closed session meeting.
So moved.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.